Okay. Go ahead. Give it a topic.
Okay, so this is the 4th meeting out of 4. So obviously, if somebody hasn't asked an important question, today would be a great time to ask your question. And, you know, we start out with a topic. I have a topic, Ananda has a topic. And today, I would like to talk about being with people. I think it was Jean-Paul Sartre that said, hell is other people. Now, you know, if awakening, if non-dual awakening, or enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, doesn't help with that, then it's probably not worth it. So somehow this non-duality thing, we can talk about oneness, even bliss, we can talk about non-doership, we can talk about all the $10 words. But you know what? It's people, day in and day out, that are the challenge. So how does awakening help you deal with people? Of course, we all know we're supposed to love ourselves. We're supposed to love others. We already know that. So that's the way to go. We know that, but how do you do it? Well, so awakening offers you this solution. That other person, they're you. That other person is me. Now, the beauty of this is relationship gets solved because in your experience of pure presence, there is only that presence. And in a certain way, you could say there is only that self that you are. And that self that you are, with a capital S self, is also what everything and everyone else is. But it's not an abstraction. It means that when you are with someone, you are experiencing yourself quite literally. At the same time, there's a wonderful paradox, which is the other person is still other. And you don't know what they're going to say, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and what they're going to do. And that just makes it for one surprise after the other. But if it solves that problem of a gap, of a split of me versus you, you know, and if we're both allowed to let our personalities flow naturally and be ourselves, then we have a solution. Does it mean you'll never have difficult people? Does it mean that there might not be somebody to be rude to you or worse? No, it doesn't mean that. That's part of the flow of life. Just like in a river, there's rocks in the river and there's branches and trees that fell into the river.
It's actually so interesting because, and I'm going to elaborate on what Ramaji is saying here, because it's actually when somebody is difficult and is giving you a projection of what you have to work on. And that happens regardless of whether you awaken or not. You're constantly coming and you are constantly going to bump into people that annoy you. And you are going to feel something. You're going to feel that feeling. Oi, you know, this guy isn't for me. What exactly am I feeling? It's their fault. It's all about them. But no, it never is. It's all about you. It's your projection. And it's funny because I have such an interesting role in what Ramaji and I do. Because what I do is I train the rasa givers. So eventually what happens to a lot of them is they want to climb on board and become a rasa giver. So then I take a bunch of awakened beings, and they are really awake because we've worked with them for many, many months. And they really get it. And I have to now show them what they don't get. And the only reason I can do that is by starting to piss them off. Because I know that they're going to be sitting in front of a student that's going to make them very angry. And they're going to have to deal with that. It's not just about loving the student and just saying what the student wants to hear. It's about loving them enough to say exactly what they need to hear, not what they want to hear sometimes. Not always, but sometimes, a lot of the time. So you're training someone to help another person, and it's just interesting the way it works. And I would say that, you know, Ramaji, you're talking about a topic that's so big, because sometimes you awaken, and the actual oneness and the self, the presence that you know is everybody at the same time is you. So, and that develops sometimes. That's what I call embodying your awakening. It takes time. So for Ramaji, years. For me, years. I mean, it just takes time. And you are always, and it's actually, you know, I had a teacher once, and he used to say to me, he was a master, you know, and he used to say to me, for 7 years, I studied a particular study, and he used to say that when I was going through a pleasant time and everything was going my way and I was really feeling on top of it and my spiritual ego was flying, and he used to look at me and he used to say, really, I don't want to talk to you or see you for a few weeks. Let me know when things get difficult, because that's when I know you're starting to grow. And yet, what do all of us want from being enlightened? We all want life to be easy. We all want to be awakened so that we have no more struggles and no more pain and all bliss. But that's not why we're in this realm. We're in this realm to serve, to care for one another, to be a part of the whole, not separate from the whole, not to have a spiritual ego. Ooh, it's all about me and I'm so awake and you're not. What's that? That's more separation through your enlightenment. And that's sad. So, I mean, that's just not what Ramaji and I do at all. And therefore, we often are depicted as being very different kinds of teachers, because we really don't see ourselves as that, and we never will. We see you guys as being as much of that as we are that, always. So, you know, anyway, what else do you want to say about that, Ramaji?
Well, you know, oneness, right? Everybody wants oneness. But think about it. You know, it sounds like when you're separate or experiencing that little separate self, however you experience it, think oneness, awesome, you know, Disneyland, you know, everything's going to be perfect. Well, oneness is a very interesting thing, because once you're living in oneness, or you could say unity consciousness, guess what? Every single day, you are finding out just how one you are with everything and everyone else. Okay? And I love the Dalai Lama. He is a truly great man, a master. But I love what he talks about.
Me too.
He talks about, you know, if you're saying somebody else did X to you and you want to blame them, look at your own mind.
Go look at your own darkness.
And no matter what you're saying, you probably need to check out your humility, check your ego level, whatever. So even for awakened people, this is the misunderstanding, a big one. Because why? Who talks about post-awakening? A few people only. Basically not a single book about post-awakening. It's a few include something, a chapter. But they don't talk about, well, what happens is you start all over again. Now you're a adult, spiritual adult. That's what 1000 or self-realization means. You go now from self-realization to self-actualization, and that's a lifetime project. Okay, and that's why, you know, you see teachers go, well, I guess he's enlightened, right? And then you'll see somebody, say the Dalai Lama, and go, oh my God, look at this guy. He's amazing. He's incredible. He's a great human being. He's a master. Well, he didn't get that way by doing nothing after his enlightenment. He kept working on himself. And that's maybe our biggest focus right now, at least in terms of enlightenment, people who have awakened. But it's a good thing to remember for everybody. Mm-hmm. You know, the work will continue. And that's the kind of people we want to awaken, is people who are ready to work and ready to help others, who are ready to serve, who have the love and the compassion, and they see how important that is. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at Kate for a minute. I was thinking about the work Open Circle does.
Yeah.
Teacher after teacher, putting together months and months and months of courses to help people. You know, I mean, it's everyday people that are making an incredible difference to your lives, but most of us don't even notice them. We don't see what's right in front of us. The beauty of the person who's just there doing the hard work. And until you actually, that's embodying your awakenedness. But yet everyone will say, oh, I'm so bored. I'm not awakened. And this is so this, and I should be feeling blissy and this and that. But if you really were at any point, even slightly awake, you would feel appreciation. You would know that the teachers sitting in front of you are taking out of their time, their lives to help you. They don't earn a lot of money, you know. I mean, it's not just the teachers, you know, the garbage man. That's when the little things, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. And there is really no other reason to wake up. Don't even bother.
I had a teacher, Shinzen Young, who's actually a well-known Buddhist teacher. And one time, and this is how I remember, it may not be exactly what he said, but one time he said to me, because I would have lunch with him, buy his lunch, so I could pester him with questions, you know, back in the 1980s when I was seeking and I was in Los Angeles. Anyway, to make a long story short, one time he said to me, listen, I want you to know that when you get enlightened, it's not going to be what you think. He says, you know, what's happened with me, you know, you hear about this Buddhist thing, compassion, the bodhisattva, all of that. He says, here's what happened with me. Now I'm truly conscious of everybody else's suffering. Now I can't get away from it. Now I have to do something about them and not just me. So don't think it's a bed of roses. Yes, it is a greater life, a better life, a more beautiful, more sublime life to be enlightened, to be awakened. But, you know, it actually then, your sensitivity to the suffering of others, the pain of others, your compassion, your love, that's what you will need to cultivate. If you have really opened up and really awakened, you will then be aware of the suffering of others like never before. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened with me. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's what happened with Ananda. And that's why we're here. That's why we sit in front of you.
I always say you want to serve. It just happens naturally. It's not something you effort, because you begin to realize if there's no little I, what is there?
Yeah.
Then everything's me. And so suffering certainly doesn't make any sense, because if they're suffering, guess what? So am I. You know, the truth cannot be true for you and not for everyone. You cannot claim to be true if the other isn't true. It means everything is what you are. Otherwise,
everything
and everyone, even if you don't like them.
Yeah.
That's just the way we roll. That's the way this works. So, and it's really interesting. And it's really, I mean, it's a fun ride, don't we? I know we've been kind of serious today.
We're serious.
And it's our last one. But I mean, if there ever is a message that I want to get across, it's probably that. That's would be our most very important message for us, you know, because we do speak about how fun it is and how this and that it is. And, you know, it's funny that this book by Charlotte Joko Beck she's a Zen master. She was a female Zen master, very strict, very to the point. And she writes about enlightenment.
Here's
the book.
Yeah.
Everyday Zen.
Charlotte Joko Beck, great book. We highly recommend it.
Yes, it's a really good book.
It's a no-nonsense, down-to-earth, no bullshit book. Okay, you want one of those about non-duality and awakening? Get that book. And her other book is really good.
Yes, too. And they ask her in the book, can you please talk about enlightenment? And her response is, I don't have anything to say about enlightenment, because the minute you start to talk about it, it creates pictures. And when you awaken, every picture dissolves and every concept dissolves. There is nothing to say. So this is a very silent teaching, after all, which we've said all along, which is why we give you the rasa.
Yeah.
Because and why we have it. Otherwise, I don't think we could.
I don't think we'd do it if we didn't have rasa, because we see the weakness of words. We see the emptiness of concepts. It doesn't work. And that's why, as far as I know, I'm pretty sure that's why a lot of you are here, because you have been to the teachers that sit in their chair with a flower next to them on a table, and they talk to you as if they think they can talk the ego to death. Ain't going to happen.
A wonderful koan, one of my favorites, is they would a little Zen guy would come up to his master, and the master would look at him in horror, and he'd say, "What can I do? What can I do?" He said, "Well, there's a koan for you. The sound of," I'm sure you've all heard this before, "what is the sound of one hand clapping?" And boy, oh boy, he'd go sit and he'd go over it in his mind, and the sound of one hand clapping, and boy, what is the sound of one hand clapping? Then you start to recognize how your mind is trying to figure this out. There's no sound. How can one hand clapping make a sound? It's complete stillness. The idiocy of our minds is trying to figure it all out, which is why the intellect doesn't work in this particular area of study. It can't.
Can get you up to a point, but only to a point.
It's being. Presence. Anyway, any questions, you guys? Is it time for questions?
Sure. Let's see if we have questions or not. Oh, and thanks for the quote. I think it was Dave. All saints have a past. All sinners have a future. That's really good. So true.
I like the one, how does it go? Religious people, how does it go? They believe in heaven and hell. Spiritual people have to go through hell to get to heaven. Something like that.
Yeah.
I like it. I forget the precise quote. Maybe somebody else remembers that. Ask questions, guys. We're here for you. This is our last one.
Well,
here we go.
Well, we got to, okay, but Kate's going to handle it as far as I know.
Okay.
Go ahead if they're, because I can't see them raise their hand if they're raising their hands.
Okay, yeah. Somebody
that's why
just put in the chat that he wanted to ask a question.
Oh, that was, okay.
Yeah.
Jay, so go ahead. Let's see, I can.
Go ahead, Jay.
If you need help, I can unmute you. There you go. Oop.
It's not Jay, it's Bonnie.
Oh, okay.
Hi there.
Hi, Bonnie.
Bonnie.
Hi there. So I really have a question of something I noticed. I had a Rasa session earlier this week. And I noticed the Rasa sessions are extremely powerful for me, and I watch that there's I can either go into just the physiological experience during Rasa, or I can have this narrative in my head of what's happening physically, and it feels like when I translate the physiological experience into words, it feels like I'm preparing to tell somebody about it, So it's really, I think the answer to my question is really move away from the thought, move away from translating the physiology into words. But I just thought I would check, because I just kind of watched that process, that I can be in the experience and have the narrative, or I can just be in the experience. So I just thought I would bring that up.
That's a good question. You answered it brilliantly, though. Okay. You answered your own question.
Right. So that's right.
Yeah. Stay in the body.
Stay in the body.
Always stay in the body.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. Rasta is given in silence. It's received in silence.
Yeah.
And if there's commentary, so be it,
Right.
But the Rasa is powerful enough to really handle anything like that.
Right.
It's essentially just the willingness of the person, the desire, the willingness, the openness, the availability, which you, Bonnie, have. But no amount of Rasa can help somebody if they don't really want to wake up. So that really wanting to wake up that makes a difference. And that plus the Rasa will do it. So thanks. Great question.
Great answer. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just laughing at something Karnik said the other week. He wrote to me, "My oneness has been threatened." God, that was funny, Karnik.
Oh, I see something on the chat from Bob. Well, Bob, you know, isn't that presence their transmission job? Just because I was being critical of people who just talk, teachers that just talk. Isn't it the space between the words that assist the destruction of concepts? Well, Bob, I hear what you're saying, and that is indeed the theory, and certainly that does happen sometimes. But you know, we could ask for a raise of hands, but I'm willing to bet that all of us who have been to lots of satsangs have experienced the presence, have heard the words, have experienced the space between the words. But guess what? That's what you're here because it didn't happen.
Exactly.
So not saying it's impossible, because it's not impossible, but it's extremely unlikely with that medium. Whereas with Rasa, it's a direct, targeted, laser targeted focus for awakening without words, and silent transmission is the ultimate transmission.
Like Bob, I will say also to you that we respect and love all teachers. I always say that I think that any teaching that you feel you are drawn to is what you need. And if that arises in you to go listen to that teacher, do that thing, by all means do that. That means you must listen to the self. Yourself, you're the guru. Yourself knows what is best for you.
Yeah.
That's the teaching. I mean, you don't have to, it's not about one being better than the next. What works for me? Trust you. You've got to trust yourself. You know, there isn't a single teacher on planet Earth who's sitting there and saying that you're not that. They're all telling you that you are that.
Yeah, we're sitting here talking. You know, I mean, we're just here to deliver a new paradigm. You know, but like Ananda says, we're happy with all the teachers in the world. We wish there was you know,
A ton more.
100 million people like, you know, Rupert Spira or Adyashanti or Muji or any of the other not so well-known people. Let's have, you know, 10 million such people. We're not against it. We're always saying we're here to do what we do. And the reason the Rasa appeared is because that other process takes so long, you know? And I think the people that are here who've been on that journey for a long time can attest to that. You've been to India, you did the long retreats, you went to Portugal, you went, whatever you did, and here you are. Okay, so that's it. Just talking turkey here. We love everybody. We love all the teachers.
I love all the teachers.
We're very grateful. Plus, you know, we get people, they've been to other teachers. Guess what? They softened them up. They taught them. We're not here to teach. You know, it's like you're hungry. We're here to serve you food. You know, somebody could serve you food and never say a word, and you go, thank you. Whereas they could talk to you about the food and be talking to you and talking to you, your stomach will not ever be full. Okay, so that's why we're here. We're here to deliver the goods. That's what we care about, and that's our thing. But God bless all the teachers, everyone.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to, Bob did also raise his hand. Thank you, Bob. If you want to respond or have another question, go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I hear you on the, I guess I'm taking Rasa as, and I thank you again for the meeting on Monday. I guess I'm interpreting the Rasa as maybe like it's on steroids. It's more the progression of our waking up as a species, or whatever you want to call it. So maybe that
makes sense. That's good.
That's good words, Bob.
Yeah, we like that.
Yeah. So sure, I can't argue with that. I mean, absolutely. I mean, why not? Right?
Well, would you say there's an awakening on the planet, Bob? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking. Is that hang on? You know, I'm thinking big picture, and that okay, we're getting into crunch time here, and we've got to really.
There you go, Bob.
There you go. We're at crunch time.
Exactly. Yeah, we're ramping up. So yeah, we can't all sit around in a satsang for a week, and there's simply it's not going to work. The logistics, the numbers just don't make sense. So great. I mean, awesome. Like my question to you.
It's funny.
I love it. Everybody's answering their own question.
I do have a question though. The question again, it's around, you know, being with other people. And
Right.
maybe it's again the reflection of where I am in the awakening. I find that I get pulled back into identification and history and the little I as you interact with others in your life, because that's who they think you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're acting out a role, and again, this may sound like a victim, but I can't help myself for falling into that behavior or that mindset. So it all depends on how present, I guess, you are at that moment, whether you see that happening or not. And I find with some people, it's a lot like the charge or the temptation, the habit of falling into that personality or a dysfunctional relationship is a lot more powerful. The draw is a lot more powerful than with other people. I mean, strangers, I have no problem. I can walk around and I can relate to them in a very open and loving way. And I come across somebody I know, I've had a history with, and they are the ones that are the teachers, obviously. I don't know. I guess it's just that's something just to pay attention to, and it's a way to see how you are, quote unquote, progressing along the awakening path. Is can you maintain that presence in the face of, well, ultimately it's your family is the ultimate, right?
Mm-hmm. They say you can be so enlightened and then go visit your family over Christmas.
Yeah.
Nothing will challenge that more.
Well, Bob, you did have a session with both of us, and here's what I remember, and I think it's a pointer for everybody. You are somebody who did have a legitimate non-dual breakthrough. You just haven't been able to stabilize. And what I remember our advice was to you, which would apply to everyone if you had any kind of non-dual breakthrough, even if it didn't stick, is when you fall into the identification, don't fight with it.
Right.
And don't really think of it as anything. Do your best to see it just as a bump in the road. And be proactive, and then positively affirm, positively remember, relax and just fall back into your remembrance of your non-dual state. You're in fact somebody that goes back and forth frequently. So you know what? So it's like a cloud covering the sun is still there. Go ahead and get your sunglasses out because it's coming. Okay, so you know that. So it's really a matter of how much do you love it? How much do you want it? Do you really want to wake up? Do you really want to be free? If so, you're going to be in love with asking for it to come back. Okay, so it's dark right now, but the sun will come up. So I'm going to remember the sun and not focus on the identification. And it's a work, yes. It's
because at the same time,
it's a remembering rather than a seeking to acquire. It's a remembering of what you already have.
Because it's that fine line between the remembering and the wanting, or the remembering and the resistance to what's happening at the
But
moment.
you do know the difference. I know you know the difference.
I do, but I know it's when you're caught up, when the emotional side kicks in.
That's okay, though.
Yeah, it's all good.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You know what? You're seeing it so clearly that you're actually answering your own questions. Just the fact that you can say what you just said tells me that you actually get it. Now it's just a question of it cementing itself within your being. And that takes time for mostly everybody. Because we're always going to be challenged by other people. You see, that's the point. The point, that's actually, they're giving you the biggest gift by challenging you.
Yeah, they're testing you.
It's the universe coming to test you. How much do you think you've got this? You think you've got this? You think you've got this? Okay, let's see. But when you look at it that way, not from the point of view of being like, oh, I failed, I'm not doing this right, I'm not actually there, then you're just giving yourself a hard time for nothing.
Well, at this point, I can see that. Yeah, I can see the game, or I can see the grand plan, or I can see the teasing, like, okay, all right, let's see.
It's classic to be able to sit on your meditation cushion and feel great. And and you go to your teacher, and the teacher says, "Oh, you're feeling great on your cushion, huh? Oh yeah, it's awesome all the time. It's great. Now I want you to go work at 7-Eleven.
Right.
I want you to go work at Burger King, or at least just shop
Those
at Walmart,
would be easy because,
you know, or drive the freeway during the rush hour."
Yeah, no, those are easy because those are all strangers. That's not a.
Well, maybe for you, but
No, then for you, he would have said, I
Oh,
want you to
okay.
go
Yeah,
move
yeah.
in with
Right.
all the people
Right.
that annoy you the most for 3 weeks.
Go stay with your family for a while, or whoever irritates you the most.
That's right.
Okay.
So you're saying that it's different for different people. Some people.
Go where the test is. You know.
The test is.
Yeah.
Well, I remember you saying that, Ramaji, of, you know, whenever I'm feeling something, I want to go towards it rather than
towards and into.
Yeah.
You want to become more intimate with it. You want to get closer to it, be friendly to it, be curious about it, which is basically all different ways of embracing it.
Without judging it.
Even if there's identification, no problem. Okay, what is this all about? Let's experience this. Go into it. You see, there's a problem with identification because you're sitting here going, I'm identified with that. Well, move towards it and that's all going to fall apart. That's going to break down as soon as you move towards it and into it. You become curious, affectionate, intimate, caring, embracing, whatever it is, you know. It's positive, negative, or neutral. It's ultimately Buddha nature, ultimately the self, ultimately God. Okay, trust that. Trust that and go towards it. If you love it, it will love you.
Everything is the light. Even if it doesn't seem so, it is so. And if it's coming to your way, that's because it's exactly what you need at that moment in time. And when you have that consciousness about whatever goes on in your life, you will be just fine.
Yeah. Everything, this is it.
This is it.
Right now, right here, this is it.
I should wear my glasses. I can't read anything.
Yeah, well, it's what we were. Yeah, if you think you're enlightened, go and spend a week with your family. Yes, very good. As you go towards it, it keeps disappearing. Yes. Go where the test is. Yes. It's all experience, and you are the king of your experience, not us, not the most famous guru in the world. You're the authority, the expert, the king and queen of your experience. So go into your experience, get to know it better. Somebody asked the Buddha, what is the turning point? He said, curiosity. Be curious. Be endlessly curious about whatever is arising. Don't sit there with your arms crossed. Move towards it, into it. Be very curious. And you will be amazed what happens. Cool. Mere curiosity is the turning point. Most people just don't ask questions.
Yeah. No, I know.
That's the reason. It's the reason they're stuck. As soon as you start asking. Get curious, though. Curious.
I get irritated when people stop asking questions, right? So.
We all get irritated, Bob. It's pretty normal. Okay, anybody else? Yeah, thanks.
Miroslav. Let's see. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead. Miroslav? Miroslav.
Right. Miroslav from Bosnia. Well, I would like both of you to shed some light on a dark night of the soul that you mentioned, that you both mentioned.
Sure.
Yeah, but let's hear your experience. Okay, I mean, we don't want to talk in general about the dark night of the soul. If that's what you want, go read a book. But what are you going through? Why do you ask that question?
Are you going through something right now?
Yeah.
Is that why it's come up?
Well, it's not, at the present, but, it's been like in a past, but you both mentioned that it lasted for Ramaji, it lasted a month and a half, and you said luckily. So it looks like that it's some sort of like process that you go through, and Ananda Devi mentioned the same dark night of the soul. So I wonder, is that some sort of like process that you have to go through, or
I understand your question.
Right.
I would say, I think I used it in the context of returning to the state of innocence And so in other words, babies and children, if you watch babies and children, they're always in the natural state. They're just happy when they're happy. If their lollipops fall on the ground, they throw a temper, and the next thing they're moving on to the next thing. They're not really judging their own behavior. And then as we develop and we grow up and we become conditioned, and then the suffering somehow comes into play. At least that's been my experience with seekers and in my own case. So remembering, we're always coming from our own existential experience. Yours will be a different experience, but just as valid. So when we're talking about the dark night of the soul, what we mean is there was a certain degree of suffering, and it varies for people. When, in my case, it was just, I'll use my story as an example. It was when, life seemed to have really been working for me in every area. There was nothing wrong. I can't even tell you how right it was. Most people would never have dreamed of such an existence. But yet I felt a lack. I felt like, oh my gosh, there's something I'm not getting here. And it happened to me very young, at 13, and then again when I was in my later years. And so I just started to wonder big time. And then I was a seeker, reading books and going to see different teachers, studying all the religions. It was a never-ending process, to the point that eventually I did awaken. But what I mean to say is that is what we call the dark night. It's when you feel a darkness that you don't know why you're feeling. It's like, and I think for me, it's like the self, what you're seeking is seeking you. Because what was missing for me was I wasn't really being myself. I was a conditioned person thinking that the things I'd been taught to enjoy and to love and were important weren't actually important to me at all. So it's a case I had to rediscover what worked for me, rediscover who I actually am, what I actually want. And then I just became a Twilight Zone phase of just really, oh my gosh. And then I met Ramaji, and then this idea of serving. I had to serve. I said to him, there's nothing else here for me. The only thing I want to do is help people. Because I know I'm helping me. Done, period. That's it. So but you go through this process. I don't know why. That's how it worked for me.
All of the seeking, the whole seeking phase is a dark night. You see, to be a seeker is a dark night of the soul. People become seekers because their life isn't working. Most people think their life is working. The seeker, the real seeker, spiritual seeker, knows it isn't. That's the dark night. Now, within the dark night, there can be darker times. And it's basically like this, up and down, up and down. Like the saying, it's darkest before dawn. It really happens like that. The lowest of lows can then transform into the highest of highs in terms of what you've experienced. Even in one day, in one morning, you could be low as low. In the afternoon, high as high. So you see, it's a mini cycle that could happen within an hour, could happen over a period of years. But this high-low thing, so dark night of the soul also means light of the soul will come. But this whole seeking phase, we talk about it because we talk about the students and, people who, they could be doing so many other things with their lives, traveling or just doing other quote unquote fun things. But no, they're here on a call like this. The sun could be shining outside or something else, but they're here on a call like this. Okay, they've been called. And they're responding to that call. But will they be chosen? You see? So it's a dark night. And, teachers like ourselves and anyone else who's doing this is here to help you answer that call. You're here because you've been called. We're just here to help you respond to it. And it's a dark night, but that doesn't mean it isn't full of wonder.
And it's only dark because you think you don't get it. The minute you get it, you'll know there was never any darkness to begin with. You actually are the light. So and that's the paradox of this entire thing. So it really isn't a difficult study to get. It's too simple. Our minds create the difficulty. The thought that it's somehow beyond understand.
That it's not here now.
That it's not here
It
and I've
is
got to do
honest
this and
to
that. It
God.
can't possibly be this.
Right here now, as this, right now, this very moment, you see. So even ultimately, Dark Night of the Soul sounds great. That's a St. John of the Cross came up with that, you know. Great words, great concept, but in the end, it's still just a concept because it implies time and space and the future. We're saying it's now, and that's how you're going to get it, is now, 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 now.
Does that help you?
Is that helpful?
Is that a good answer?
Yeah, it helped. You know, it's not that I didn't know that before, but I was watching Ramaji's video where you mentioned that you know, there's a specific, I guess, process where you go through and you forget just about anything that you knew before.
Well, that's in the 1000 book. I mean, if you're interested in the process and the stages, then get the 1000 book.
Are you talking about like is he talking about LOCs?
Maybe.
Is your question more regarding the LOCs, the way the process of the numbers works?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's a different question. Oh, sweet. That's very cute. Okay. You know, the best idea for you would be, I would say, go onto our website. A lot of it is described there simply. And buy the 1000 book. Get it on Amazon, and it is all there. Because it's a little bit much for us to start describing that now. It's just... It's a level of consciousness that the mind goes through, and it slowly starts to raise and raise and raise. And yes,
that was my question. And
yes.
well, you know, I'm new here, obviously, and
That's okay.
We're all new here. We hope.
That's funny. I'm sorry, we misunderstood his question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So the answer is, you know, to pretty much everything is detailed in 1000 book.
Oh, totally. It is the map, and just to point out that the way the map was created was, I really wasn't trying to create a map, but I began to notice common characteristics with different teachers. So it started out more as a sociological study, not a theory. I was going, oh, gee, all these guys are saying the same thing. And then then these other guys are saying something different, and they're all alike. And eventually, and I also came across David Hawkins' map, and I realized they're, you know, gathering around at different water holes, you know, and these are zebras, and these are tigers, and these are elephants, and they're at different watering holes, and they all have very similar characteristics. So it was an empirical study. It came about as a result of studying hundreds and hundreds of people whose LOCs could be evaluated, including people like Mozart or something like that. And so it's very practical. It's not theoretical. And you can also, as a seeker, as a student, use it to evaluate teachers based upon what they're saying, you know, based on their demeanor and so on. So it gives you power as a seeker. You don't just have to go, oh, he's enlightened, so he knows and I don't. You can evaluate that person and get a sense of where they're at, and, you know, if they're appropriate for you.
Yeah, the only reason we do this, and the only reason the book was written, was to empower the seeker.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you'll read that, you'll become much more empowered about your own process. And then you'll know
where you're at.
Where you're at.
You'll be able to tell where you're at. Yeah, yourself.
Right.
Otherwise, what is a teacher really doing? Saying, I'm here and you're not there, and we know where you're at and you don't know where you're at. Mm-mm.
Yeah, we love it when they've read the book and they come to us, because that means they really know what's going on. You know?
Right. That's the answer, you know, to my question. You know, not you know, particular suffering.
Yeah. Okay, I understand.
We get it now.
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. It's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, anybody else? Let's see. Yeah, we're good.
How are you, Tom?
Tom Lexer.
Unmute yourself.
Yeah, bottom left.
Bottom left, Tom.
No.
Yes, now we hear you.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I'm doing okay. I feel good.
You look good.
You know, when you ask a question, I think your mind gets in the way, and like people are answering their own questions. Whenever I think up a question, it sort of falls apart as soon as you ask it.
Mm-hmm. Wow, he's doing very well.
That's great, actually.
We
love that.
Stuart's doing exceptional work. I can see that now, Tom.
Yes. Yeah.
I hope I'm doing okay.
Oh yeah. That's brilliant, Tom. What you just said. It's like the words come up and then what happens to them? It's like they fall away. I mean, it's just, you know, yes.
Yeah, they're just bubbles.
It's air. Questions, answers.
Well, thank you. And I really enjoy these talks. They help so much. I think you're pulling us all up all at once.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, good. Well,
I wanted to check in with you. I haven't seen you.
Yeah.
I see you on the calls. I just haven't spoken to you in a while. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
Any other questions, Bob?
Yeah, I think somebody's asking about Eckhart Tolle's LOC. Well, we're not going to give LOCs on this call, but I think he's in the book. He's in the 1000 book, I think.
But also keep in mind the 1000 book was written, what, 5 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, some of these people could have moved up.
Absolutely.
I mean, some of them have moved up,
Yes.
actually. So there's going to be a new edition of the 1000 book sometime, probably not this year, probably next year. But there does need to be a new edition and have all that stuff updated. Because people do find it really useful, you know.
Bob, why don't you go listen to Eckhart Tolle and then tell us where you think he's at?
Yeah, we'd love that.
That's the point.
Yeah. Yeah, read the book. And yeah, it's a wonderful game. You know, read the book and then go on YouTube and listen to your favorite teachers and see if you can tell, you know, at least are they, I mean, generally they're all awakened, of course. So are they 600s, 700s, 800s, you know, or 1,000? There's only a few in the 900s, and most of the 900s teachers don't want to be public because they're so private. So, you know, the 600s, 700s, 800s, or 1,000, 4 choices. Read the book, and, you know, and if you want, you can send us an email. If you're really seriously doing it, I'll respond. Give it to me. Send it to me personally. I read the 1000 book, and I'm evaluating a teacher LOC. Don't give me a whole bunch, but one is okay. And then we'll respond to you, okay? You know, it's a fun game, and it's very empowering. Yeah, and you'll see these differences in the teachers for yourself. You know, the differences between teachers is the elephant in the living room. You know, nobody talks about it, but everybody realizes the teachers are not all at the same level. So the book can help you with that. Okay.
Is it Nicholas? Nicholas, did you want to speak? You were unmuted.
Nicholas over there. Hi, Nicholas.
Yeah, Nicholas.
Hi.
Hi,
Nicholas. How are you?
I just logged in because it's 6 o'clock in the morning in Australia.
Well, thanks for showing up. You're in time for the Rasa for sure. How are you doing, Nicholas?
Pretty well, and I'm not quite sure. I believe I'm in one of the dry periods.
Yeah, those come.
It can't get any drier.
Well, then that means the wet period's going to come.
You can be sure of that.
Yeah, but dry's okay. You know, at least you'll be objective and realistic. But everything that shows up is a gift. That's the thing. That's what you understand.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bogdan. I love Bogdan too.
Yeah, monsoon season is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't need knowledge, need Rasa. We couldn't agree more. Okay, thanks, Nicholas. Thank you. It's nice seeing you again. Thanks for being on the call. Okay.
Miroslav, did you have another question?
No, probably it's technical. You know, I'm playing to unmute myself and maybe somehow, you know, it, you know, so no, I'm fine. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome.
The mute button's at the bottom. There we go.
Yeah, bottom left.
Mhm.
Yeah. Got some lively comments today.
Mhm. I love the comments.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something cool that's been happening. A couple of the students have been hooking up. I mean, when I say hooking up, meeting, going for coffees, you know, meeting each other, if they live in the same country or city, and hanging out. And I love that. I love that there's that friendship that you can build with each other. And then you're kind of like speaking the same language. Because I think a lot of the loneliness when we start to awaken is not, you know, you kind of have your, you know, mentor, teacher, whatever you want to call us, and then some friends, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people just have like this group thing going on. So when you reach out to one another, if you ever do, it's really fun. I mean, that's when this can become super fun. Because then you can gossip about your teachers. I'm just joking. You know, then you can hang out and have a lot more in common when you are. I've always said it's you know, it takes a village.
Ananda's a matchmaker. She's matchmaking people, but as friends. You know.
As friends, of course.
But
you know,
it's so
just,
important.
it's
It can
so
be so lonely. I mean, it can be so lonely as, you know, as a seeker, you know, and having a few friends that you can get together with and talk, you know, and obviously some of that is online. You can be one-on-one online, but of course it's even better to be in person.
Yeah, if you find out, you know, if any of you feel that sense of feeling a little lonely or out of sorts, or you would like, I don't know what city you all live in, but just email me and I can maybe put you with another student kind of thing, or students, or maybe a group of students that are doing something there. You know, you just never know, and it does help.
Yeah, I mean, maybe at some point, I mean, we're super busy, but you know, it'd probably be a cool idea to, it's probably not that difficult to set up some kind of thing for people to, if they want to say, hey, I live, you know, in a certain city, contact me if you're, you know, working with Ramaji and Ananda or getting Rasa. You know what? We'll look into that.
Yeah, not only with Ramaji and Ananda, also with the other Rasa givers.
Any of the Rasa givers.
You know, yeah. And you can ask the Rasa giver you're working with, and they can also help, you know, by getting in touch with us, or if they know of anybody. So it's all good.
We can potentially talk more about that, because we offer groups.
Okay.
Do you, Kate?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
But we can chat more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a few folks actually that have their hands raised. So,
okay, Bogdan sent us an email, okay? Let's just say it's a definite possibility. Okay, we're not doing live satsangs in San Diego anymore. Like the live physical ones, we find the online ones are really kicking it. Okay, but as regards to your other question, just send an email and we'll get right back.
Oh, with Bogdan though, I'm gonna make an exception.
Yeah, that's what but I don't want to get, I don't want to get into it. You know? Okay, we got more questions.
Hey, James, go ahead, you're unmuted. James, you're unmuted. I can't see you, so I don't know if you're trying to talk. I'm assuming James is trying to talk. I just can't. Can you guys see him?
We're looking for.
Oh, there he is. So James, you're gonna have to pop off and come back on and make sure your audio is connected. Yeah.
Hi, Brian. I see you there.
So Sebastian, let's see. I'll call on you when we can hear you, James. Just chat me when you come back on. Go ahead, Sebastian.
Okay. Hey, Ramaji. Hey, Ananda.
Hi, Sebastian.
Hi.
I wanted to just make a quick note, because I like, for me, apropos also bliss state, because being in the mind, it was for me like seeing everything from the point of view of the mind. That so no thought state and all those peaceful moments was like temporary moment, but now more and more I see that actually those moments are base. I mean, this piece is just a base. This silence, this vastness, like this gap in the why I'm doing self-inquiry, and thoughts are just like are just waves, are just something which is impact like something in just in body, in system, came and going. So that's actually like and then I don't really need to in a way fishing for those peaceful moments, because I know already that all those thoughts are waves, and I can enjoy myself even with thoughts. So that's
Come a long way. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Sounds awesome.
You can take over now.
Is there a
Sebastian.
question? Or that's
no, there is no question. Thank you.
Sebastian.
Oh, okay.
Dude, fantastic.
There you go. Good job.
And he has come a long way.
Yes.
Sebastian, how long have you been with us?
From 2015, I think, like late 2015.
You've come
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Beautiful. Well said. Well said.
Well said. You're stuck in there, man. Unbelievably cool.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Yeah, Elaine. Go ahead and unmute you. Go ahead, Elaine.
Hi, Ananda. Hi, Ramaji.
Hi, Elaine.
Hi, Elaine.
Can you speak to the difference in clearing? It seems that the rasa amplifies bringing issues to surface, and yet even before spiritual practice, life has a way of bringing our issues to surface.
Yeah.
So is there really a difference between, when we, like, if I'm in a meditation retreat and there's a lot of time spent meditating, then things arise quickly. And of course, working with Kali, I can't believe how much has surfaced. Like, my biggest core stuff, like, on fire immediately. And I've only had, a couple of Rasa sessions with Ramaji, and I'm going to continue with both of you. And then the group Rasas. So does it just depend where we each are individually and astrologically, or is there an amplification of clearing out?
Yes.
With the Shakti, with the, okay.
Yes. Kali Ma stands for that. That energy is, it's a quickening of dissolving of the false. So don't be afraid. Allow it.
That's the difference. Yes, I feel less afraid.
Yeah, that it can feel scary. It can feel like, oh my God, this, now that, and this. But that's because it's coming up so it can go away.
Yeah, it's so loving. It's just like, here you go. Here you go.
This is what you need to work on. This is what you need to work on. This is what needs to go. This is false. Yes. This is false. This is false. And eventually there's nothing left.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's like being on the inside of a washing machine. Only it's very gentle at the same time. Rasa, Kali Ma, whatever what name you want to give it, doesn't really give you more than you can handle. It knows how to keep you right at that burning edge, that growing edge, like where you're at. And therefore, you get the satisfaction. That is, say, you get a sense of fulfillment. You can see it. You know, people get so frustrated, but Rasa speeds it up, and you're like, whoa, you know, I guess I'm getting what I asked for finally.
Yes.
Right.
You know,
But but it has even greater power to clear it and heal it.
It's an intervention. It's a spiritual intervention because we are addicted to our mind.
And our story.
And our story.
And our story about our problem. So you know, you're just really getting this quickened thing happening.
Yeah.
So, and then it's showing you, oh my God, and then the thought about the problem and the problem about the thought, and you know, it's never, but then eventually you see it's a wonderful way of I call it an expulsion, a full-on expulsion, Elaine.
Okay.
Yes.
It is love, though. You're right. It's tough love. It's merciful love.
And I think with the Rasa and the increased awareness, I'm less afraid, and I'm more willing to dive into it.
Go into
As
the
we're
fear.
saying, move into
Go towards it. Yes.
The fear freezes it. Fear creates a freeze frame. As soon as you move towards it, things become alive again. Move into it, move towards it, embrace it, be curious about it, become more intimate with it.
You'll notice the fear is just a feeling. You know, might be so afraid of feeling it, then we tend to jump away from the fear. But you know, Kali's not going to allow that anyway.
No.
So it's not to arise until you face the biggest challenge of all, which is the fear energy. The fear energy is just, you have to go get past it. So and the way you get past is going through.
Yeah.
Kali's a warrior, and she makes warriors out of all of us.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. A lot like Shiva's energy, but maybe even more fierce.
Yeah, actually.
It's the same energy.
Yeah, basically it's the same energy.
Shiva and Kali are one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shiva's the peace and Kali's the Shakti.
Yeah.
Shakti.
Yeah. Yeah. The peace underlies everything, but yet, you know, everybody thinks they just want this peace, but actually the fun and the joy is in the Shakti. It's in the life.
Yeah.
You'll get lots of peace. You can all die one day. People will take over. Why don't you just jump into Shakti?
Yeah.
I never understand that.
Oh my goodness.
The space is the place where the Shakti can rock you, you know?
Yeah.
Can rock.
Rock the shock.
Rock the Shakti. Yeah, the space is that place in which it all happens. So it's you can't separate the space from the arising. See, that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
The arising takes place within the space. So it's not about getting rid of the arising. It's not about only having space. It's about finding that mysterious, dynamic, creative, beautiful, entrancing, amazing fusion
between both
of space and arising, and that's it. That's the sweet spot. That's what this is all about. You see?
Then you're not looking for a particular experience because you know that whatever experience you're getting is that.
So you go into it, and it reveals itself. You know, it looks like one thing from the outside, from a 9 distance. You go into it, all of a sudden you find out that the hard-shelled oyster has a pearl inside. How are you going to find that until you go into it? You see? It's all pearls, but a lot of them look like oysters.
And we all have stuff that comes up. You know?
Yeah.
All of us.
The human condition is just, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not already. It's always, you know, we still have stuff.
I do. I have stuff.
Oh my gosh.
My God, if I didn't have stuff, what would happen is I would just float right up. I wouldn't be able to stay here. I mean, I was Ramakrishna. I think he said, somebody said to him, why do you eat so much food? And of course he stayed skinny. He says, because I need to have something to keep me here. So I've got a food addiction. And the day that, and he told his wife, he says, if I ever say I don't want to eat, know that I'm going to be leaving.
Wow.
And he finally say that, and 3 days later he passed.
Wow. Oh my God.
So we require our flaws. All diamonds have flaws. There is a perfect diamond.
Mm-hmm. It's not a flaw. That's just your...
And yet it's not a flaw, really.
It's just the meaning you
give. It's our
giving
humanity.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So you're experiencing the joy,
Mm-hmm.
the ecstasy of the transformation.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you want to get, where you get accelerated into light speed. You stop resisting the transformation. You start enjoying the speed, the rapidity, you know, so that you're going to break through the sound barrier and go beyond gravity. That's what it takes.
Okay.
So, you know, and the
Just,
Rasa helps
it's
a
so
lot.
good. You
Yeah.
see, Elaine, that's the gift. You know, when somebody's, you know, mean to me or I'm called something, I always say, yes, now I'm getting to do some work. Huh? Say it. Oh, that's hysterical. Who said that?
Somebody says,
Satan.
Satan, the yellow thieves.
666. Probably.
That's hilarious.
Who is that
Thanks,
from?
Dave. That's very funny. There's a question here about no. People listen to the Rasa at the end. Whether some people have actually edited the rest of the meeting out and just passed around the silent Rasa at the end. You'll still get a benefit.
It's nice. I think I'm seeing new faces, or is it just me?
No, we have new faces. Yeah, we got new people. Okay.
I just want to, before we jump in, I do want to give James another try. He's back on.
Okay.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Elaine.
Okay, go ahead, James. Let's see. Uh-oh. I'm assuming that that's not working.
Well, maybe he can just send it in the chat.
Yeah, that was my next. No, let's see. Too long. Maybe I could just translate, read your lips. I can see you now.
We can email us if he wants.
Yeah.
James, you can email us if it's a
Yeah.
big question. No problem.
Yeah.
And just try one more thing, James. Just by your mute button, there's an up arrow, and click on that.
I think we can hear him now.
Yeah. Let's see, James. Go ahead and talk.
I'm talking.
Yeah,
Yay!
there you go.
Oh, wow. How did that happen? Okay, so you can hear me now, right?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So my question has to do with, I sometimes feel this dichotomy between, on the one hand, embracing, welcoming, accepting, going through experience, and on the other hand, feeling the limitation of experience and wanting to be more in a kind of neti neti. No, this isn't it, this isn't it, this isn't it. And often they seem like they're really just two sides of the same coin, and I suspect they are, but it doesn't always seem that way. Sometimes it seems like it's a conflict. So I just wanted you to address that if you could.
Want to go ahead?
Sure.
I love Neti Neti.
It's Neti Neti and Yeti Yeti.
I love that word.
Well, you know, you really do Neti Neti for a while, which most people here have done. Most people here have done Neti Neti, and it didn't quite work. It cleared out some of the, you know, bushes and some of the weeds, but there's still more. So what you can do is alternate. Go ahead, do not this, not this, not this, not this, you know, not that, not that, not that. Okay, and then with what you're left, now embrace it. And then if you get stuck or confused, not this, not this, not that, not that. In other words, it's like breathing. So nobody's complaining that they breathe in and then they breathe out. It works really good.
It sure does.
The other way to look at it is in like that Zen expression, what is enlightenment? Oh, there aren't any words because everything's going to present a problem, I mean, a picture or a concept. You can't describe it. Neti, 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 neti. So what is it? This. It's when the thoughts come up or this comes up and it's just this. So you are oscillating between trying to figure it out, the neti, 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 neti. And then as soon as you're becoming engaged in your experience, you actually, that is the neti, 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 neti. It's just another, it's paradoxically, that's exactly it. So what you're saying is true, and you did answer your own question. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I call the embracing side Yeti Yeti.
Yeah, Neti. That's hysterical. You should write that down. That's
Neti, neti, yeti, yeti. In fact, I'm going to write it down.
Yeah. Can we use
right
that,
here,
James, in our next?
Okay, you have to give me royalties though.
Okay.
All right. Well, send us your contract and we'll sign it.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Neti Yeti, Yeti Yeti.
Neti, neti, yeti, yeti. Thank you, James. So I don't know, time-wise, how are we doing, Kate?
I think we should get to the Rasta.
Okay. Okay.
Unless it is the last session, a burning question.
Well, I'm going to go use the restroom, and anybody else who's like me that needs to, then this is the time.
Or you can ask me a question if you want.
Ananda, actually, someone was just mentioning about, the going into the experience there they gave fear as an example of the fear of getting stuck in the fear. So there's the
Yes, it's like you go into that fear and it's awful. I mean, I'm not going to say it's fun jumping and diving into your fear. And the trick is, though, just stay there. You may feel stuck there for a while, but it's going to pass. There's no question. So if you dive into it and you just stay there and you just allow yourself to be it, in other words, I'm not experiencing fear, I am fear. And then you know that actually, just like every other feeling passes, the fear will pass. So you become less afraid of the feeling itself because it's an illusion. It's just a feeling. It comes and goes. So the only reason it has power is because you're giving it the power. You're afraid of it. You're afraid of being afraid, which is kind of weird. So you've just got to dive in and just be that fear, and you'll see you won't get stuck. If you practice doing that little by little by little, I had to practice too. Little by little by little. But it can also help you feel alive. I mean, the feelings we have is the Shakti. The feeling is aliveness. It's all the feelings: anger, love, compassion, desire. That's the Shakti. That's the life force. Fear, that's the different emotions that are so precious that we get to feel. So when you're not afraid of them and you just live them, they're cool. It works for you. It's just when you try and escape it that it doesn't work. Run away. You're welcome. You ready, Ramaji? Kate, thanks again for everything.
My pleasure. Thank you both.
Yeah,
and thank you, everyone.
Yeah, everyone, thank you for supporting Kate and supporting us.
An open circle. And if you don't have your video on or a picture of you, please put it on now if you can, because we do prefer to be able to see you. Oh yeah, somebody goes from Ramana Maharshi, let what comes come, what goes go, find out what remains.
Brilliant.
He's always got the last word. Okay, we are going to do the Rasta now. So I'm going to go ahead and mute us, and so it'll be 20 minutes in silence, eyes closed, and here we go.
Thank you, everybody. That was your rasa today.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you again so much, Ananda, Ramaji.
You're so welcome.
Yeah.
We love you guys.
Yeah. If you can sit a while after this, go ahead or lay down. But if not, that's okay too.
Yes, and we will be joining Kate soon. We're not sure what month it'll be. But it will be
Bob.
will be when Bob. I dig that. That's a cool statue of that's enough to send anyone into fear. Love it.
Yeah, the Shakti.
The
Yeah.
Shakti. It's funny. But Gary's got this one. Also Fury.
Everybody's got their calling.
So cute.
So if folks aren't already, if you want to put yourselves in gallery mode, and I do, that way you can see all the amazing people on the call. And I do want to just also give kudos to James, who spoke, and he's on the Open Circle team, and he does our newsletters, and is a big fan of Rasa. So I just wanted to give kudos to him.
And he's got a great sense of humor too. You're lucky to have him on the team, Kate.
We are. We have a great team.
You do have a great team. And we encourage you all to go onto the Open Circle. They always have such amazingly incredible teachers to talk to and to meet. And we love working with them. And we hope that Kate has us on again. She will, I hope.
So we will. We will.
Yeah.
And stay tuned for other teachers on the Open Circle website.
Course.
Yeah. If they resonate. And yeah, just thank you for your presence, everyone.
Thank you for having us, you guys.
We're here because you're here.
Exactly. Have a wonderful weekend. Have fun.
Thank you.
Have fun.